Welcome back to the Standing Room Only podcast, episode 107. I have a lot to talk about today as the Hall of Fame voting got announced. One person got in. We're going to talk some NBA, some Bulls updates. Love talking Bulls basketball. Controversial call over the weekend. Give our thoughts on that. And then we probably had the best weekend of playoff football ever. 3 games, every single game ending on the final play of that technical game. 3 of them being the road team kicking field goals, and then another game ending in overtime. Also give our thoughts on the overtime rules. As always, follow us on social media at SROnlyPod. Follow us on Twitter or Instagram. We put out polls for last weekend's games, so we will go over the voting results there and recap our thoughts on that. And then you can follow our personal pages. Mine is at the Healy6.
I am iGoose with 4 O's. As always, hit that follow button. Let's talk some trash and let's talk sports. With that being said, Healy, MLB Hall of Fame voting is in. It's done. Disappointed.
Man.
Disappointed.
Just
I'm happy for one.
a stab to the heart today. Baseball will never, you can't tell the story of baseball without including Barry Bonds or Roger Clemens. Both guys, 10th year on the ballot, failed to get in, and they are kicked off the ballot. Sammy Sosa also kicked off the ballot. He finished with 18%, 1% higher voted than last year. Nowhere even close. And what really, people, you have your opinions on steroids or not. The thing that really hurts, David Ortiz got inducted to the Hall of Fame. Cool. Good for him. He deserves it. First ballot, you could kind of discuss that based off the strength of the ballot. I don't care that he got in now or next year or whatever. What hurts about David Ortiz getting in, though, is because the steroid guys fall off the ballot. And also David Ortiz failed a test when he was coming up in the bigs. He failed a steroid test. So what's up with this narrative of having the guys that took steroids and banishing them from the hall? Then you induct David Ortiz, who did have a link to failing a test. Barry Bonds never failed a test. You could probably say 99%. He did actually take steroids in his career, but he never failed a test once in his career. David Ortiz did. So that makes it hurt even more. Bonds and Clemens finished with 66 and 65% of the votes. You needed 75 to get in.
It is baffling that you can have the most talent ever. There's an assumption that you took steroids. I think it's pretty evident he did. Never failed a test, like you said. But even that, we're going to look past the fact that David Ortiz did. Granted, was a great player. David Ortiz deserves to get in. I'm not saying he doesn't. But stay consistent. If you don't stay consistent, it looks like you're running a circus. Which, at this point, it looks like a circus is being ran. You have key guys being left out. One being Barry Bonds, the man who would put up more intentional walks than Chris Paul puts up assists in a game. And I just don't... It's hard because at one point, sure, steroids, they're cheating, right? It's an enhancement drug. It's banned, fine. But at one point, you're telling me there wasn't an era where everybody was juicing? You're telling me there isn't an era when the MLB can change baseballs and it's not a problem? There's just so much, and it just doesn't make sense. Make it make sense, I guess, is what I'm getting at. Make it make sense.
Yes.
Defensively, numbers were nuts. Offensively, nuts. Even before he got really, really big, we can say, was he not dominating the league anyway? Was he not like stealing bags? Was he not when he was with Pittsburgh, he was incredible. When he went to the San
Yep.
Francisco Giants, he was incredible. It's not like he did any. I mean, he definitely got better, but I wouldn't say it's because of that. He was still a great player. He was still putting up the numbers.
The only player in the 400 club, 400 home runs, 400 stolen bases. Also, the only player in the 500 club.
It's incredible. Barry Bonds. But why? But why? Like, what's the what? I think if you vote, give a reason why someone with the caliber, with the numbers of what would be define Hall of Fame. Because if that's the case, put a stat sheet up there and they're like, this is your minimum requirements. As a pitcher, you need this ERA, you need this amount of wins, you need this amount of strikeouts, you need this WHIP. As a batter, you need your average to be above this, or you need to be able to hit 800 home runs. If you bat 200, if you can hit 700 home runs, you're gonna be a Hall of Famer. Like, put criterias in there, but make it make sense as to why one can get in, the other can't. Is it
Yeah.
because David Ortiz took a bullet and he lived? I don't know.
What I realized based off all this too, the writers don't actually care if you took steroids or not. It was just their personal grudge that they held against these guys. Bonds was never nice to the media when he was playing. Even after playing, kind of wasn't nice to the guys. And I feel like people took that too hard. And these writers have been around forever. And they took it personal. Instead of having, what's the correct word? Like voting non-biased to all of this and putting in a good thought. They took whatever he did to them personal and just decided to never vote for him. Because David Ortiz, everyone loved him. He was nice to the media. He was all cool. But he got sin despite having some of the problems that was like the main story of why Bonds and Clemens weren't getting in.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it. There's a lot of guys that have been around for so long that if it's a grudge, first of all, if you're in the media, you have to understand one thing. Players are going to be annoyed by you. That's the job you signed up for. You write to get raw content. If he's mean, you did a good job, right? Like, you're drawing that raw content. Reminds me of like, it's like an interview with it was on ESPN, I believe. It was the running back D'Angelo Williams with somebody, and he's like, "You never played football. I don't even know why you're talking to me right now." At the time, I'm watching.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Well, it's the guy's job to ask you the questions. You're being a dick." But also at the same time, like, this is kind of what you signed up for at the same time. Like, these guys aren't required to be nice to you. If you guys poke the bear, I mean, what do you expect? Now, granted, if I was a pro athlete, and of course it's easier said than done, I'd be cool with the media because they are making a living. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for the media, if it wasn't for media platforms, guys probably wouldn't be making as much money as they are today because that's how you market. But aside from that, because that's kind of irrelevant, being salty towards Barry Bonds is completely different from his accolades. It's completely different because I promise you, if your team could go back in time and redraft somebody in that era, I guarantee you they're going to want Barry Bonds. I guarantee you they're going to want Barry Bonds. If you were drafted in the 80s, I would take Barry Bonds over anybody that came up in the 80s and the 90s. And I'm talking, and it's close because like you had the Griffeys, you had McGuire. Well, McGuire was pretty good too. I'd give him his credit. He was up there. Um, Tony Gwynn's, like all those guys. There's so many guys that I could just start naming off. But like, Bonds is it. Bonds is the guy. And he dominated in the 90s and the 2000s and went to the World Series a couple of times. And I don't know. I just don't get it. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, going back to the media stuff as well. He did have a huge ego at the time. He had 4 MVPs, or he had 3 MVPs by the time he went into that stretch where he won 4 in a row. But also during that 4 in a row stretch, he probably picked up a bit where he was mean towards the media, because that's around the time where all this Balco stuff started coming out and the media just started going after him, and they started playing the victim when Bonds was all mean about it when he had every right to do so. At the end of the day, just disappointing that this era of baseball is not included in the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame is to showcase all the great players throughout history during their eras. Okay, cool. Bonds, he probably cheated. Same with Clemens. But guess what? As I said in the beginning, you can't tell the story without them. And people need to learn who these players are. Obviously, they know who Bonds is. A lot of people talk about him. But in the Hall, they represented that time greatly, and they were the best to do so in that time. I also saw a great quote on Twitter where if you're going to discredit guys for taking steroids, you have to then vote for and push in the people who played during those eras that didn't take steroids, and their numbers are a little underwhelming per se because they're at a disadvantage during that era. Like
You're
Scott
saying
Rowland.
vote, somebody should be in.
Oh, I'm saying like Scott Rowland and Todd Helton don't get the praise they should for being clean during that era because their numbers don't look as great, even though they played the right way.
I mean, even granted, he cheated a different way, kind of. Pete Rose, dominant. I mean, Mr. 4000 hits in the majors and all-time leader. Played with heart, I would say, to kind of show like, yeah, he's not out there, whatever, gambling. He is gambling, but it's not like he went out there and didn't perform, so to speak. So it's like good people do a bad thing, a stupid thing, and they're punished forever. But but for the point of Hall of Fame baseball accolades, why are we overlooking that? Now, if the guy came out and he's like, yeah, I definitely juiced. I went from batting a 200 and the most home runs I hit was 8 for the first 6 years of my career. And then I boosted up to 280. My OPS is through the roof. I hit 45 home runs for the next 7 years. Okay. You admitted that you took this and it altered your career.
Yeah.
Like, then, okay, you don't deserve to get in the Hall of Fame.
Pete Rose is a completely different story. He gets brought up whenever Barry Bonds is brought up and not in the Hall of Fame. Pete Rose should be in before Barry Bonds. It's going to be a travesty that Barry Bonds gets in, Pete Rose doesn't. There's a different way about it. Barry Bonds played in a time where steroids, even though they kind of were illegal at some point, they didn't test for them. It was a Wild West. Could have played for it. Pete Rose broke a rule that has been in baseball for over 100 years.
Forever.
So, like, I get the comparison, all-time hits leader. He should be in the Hall of Fame. He did end up breaking a very big rule in baseball, even if it was after his playing days. And also, it didn't help him, to which he wasn't like, all right, guys, you caught me. Like, I'm very sorry. And he worked on his image. For many years, he denied betting on baseball. He denied it.
Which, yeah. You just got to admit it at that point. Which, obvious, like, don't, if you're in a position like that, don't, I mean, he's, I think, the only one that I know that had potential that did get caught. I know back in the day, there was, like, Shoeless Jackson received funds, part of the Black Sox scandal.
Yeah, that's where the rule came from, way back in the day.
Which
hasn't changed.
If you know the story about Joe Jackson, Shoeless Joe. There's movies on it. I think 8 Men Out was one of them. There's books. There's a reason why he's called Shoeless Joe. Is you gotta do some research on that. Do some history on that, because I mean, he was kind of finessed because he didn't read well. He had a bit of a learning disability, and they kind of were like, "Oh, hey, yeah, it's fine. You could do this." Still went out and performed. His numbers were nuts. And well, you signed and you got caught. So guess what? You're banned from the league now. So it's just a bummer. Not to say that these guys don't. Everybody has agents. I mean, you generally shouldn't answer for yourself when it comes to financial decisions. That's why you pay these guys so much money. You're like, listen, we'll discuss it, but I want you to really break down and make these things make sense. But people do stupid stuff. But like you said, with the era of Barry Bonds, everybody, Sosa, McGuire, Giambi, like all those guys, A-Rod, I'm sure A-Rod, and it's like,
Yeah, A-Rod got 40% this year.
I mean, A-Rod was good. A-Rod was great for a while. That Seattle team, I feel like that whole Seattle team back in the day should all be in. Just because, like, that was the team everybody watched. They watched for Griffey, for the, A-Rod, the Martinez, and all those guys, and it's just the era. You're just punishing the era at this point. That's all it is.
Yeah. Like A-Rod, if he did not get caught at the end of his career, I think he would be kind of fine. Especially because when he took it early on in his career was around the Bonds era. But he got suspended again. That will hurt him. But in the 10 years from now, he's worked on his image a lot. I would not be surprised if he squeaks in 1 year, as unfortunate as that is.
And he's
he
doing a lot
needs
of
to be in.
broadcasting too for the league.
Yeah, he's technically the best shortstop of all time. It would just, if he gets voted in, it'd be just disappointing that, once again, Bonds and Clemens aren't included as well.
Yeah.
And one final note, a little bit of a different discussion. If you don't get 5% on the ballot, you get kicked off. It is terrible that Joe Nathan only finished with 4.3%, kicking him off the ballot. And
he was good for a while.
He should have been on the ballot for the full 10 years. Baseball also needs to reevaluate statistical numbers and like innings pitched and all that. Because Billy Wagner not being in already crazy. Joe Nathan was amazing in his career.
377.
Yeah, 377 saves, which is fantastic. That ranks 8th all time. Underneath so many different Hall of Famers. And then also, he was just amazing. He had a 2.87 career ERA, which is great. His ERA plus all time was 151. 100 is the average. So he's better than 51% of people that pitched in general. He had such a good stretch and pitched a lot of innings. He almost pitched 1,000 innings in his career over 16-year span as a reliever.
As a relief pitcher, that's a lot. And he pitched excellent night in, night out. Yeah, Joe Nathan was great. Joe Nathan, to me, is up there. When I think Joe Nathan, I think of the Eric Gagnes. I think of the Trevor Hoffmans. I think of... Can we throw a Aroldis Chapman up there yet? I don't know if he's... I feel like he's blown quite a number of saves in his career, but I mean, he dominated for a while. He was pretty good for a little bit. He's still... I mean, even at his age, is still pretty good.
He still has a few years left.
Yeah.
Joe Nathan pitched until he was 41, technically. And who knows? Like, maybe he isn't a Hall of Famer. I think he is up there. He's not a for sure Hall of Famer. But he should have got 10 years for people to look at him and maybe change some minds here and there of pushing him in. And because he didn't get the 5%, he's now no longer on the ballot. And I don't know if he could get included on future ballots.
So
That
it's almost like
is
a popularity
knowledge.
contest.
That is knowledge I don't know of. Like who qualifies for the next set of ballots, like the Veterans Committee and some other ballots in which you could get voted into the Hall of Fame. Don't know if you have to last all 10 years and whatnot, but yeah, Joe Nathan, fantastic career, kind of a underrated career as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Did he? I mean, he wasn't a part of a winning like a team that won often. Maybe that's shielding him a little bit. I don't know. He didn't play in many big games, but
And
I
that
mean,
also makes him even more, like, even better. Played for Minnesota for all those years. Started out his career in San Fran. He had, it wasn't really a closer. He was a closer for, let's see, like 11 seasons. And he still put up all those saves.
multiple 40 season saves, 40 save seasons, multiple 30 plus, 35 plus.
Yeah, when you're playing on those type of teams too, save situations kind of hard. So he did play on a 92 win team, 83, 96, 79, 88. These were decent teams. So not going to discredit Minnesota then. I don't know. Maybe he just doesn't have the postseason stuff because Minnesota never won in the in the postseason really.
Yeah, that's the only thing I could think of, but I mean, it's a regular season accolade. It's like saying Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl, so he shouldn't be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I I just think that should also be changed with the Baseball Writers Hall of Fame voting. Is changing up the criteria for relievers.
Absolutely. They're just as important as the starting pitcher.
And the game's changed a lot. Like the number totals you see from some of these Hall of Famers, these guys playing right now aren't going to hit those totals. It's very tough with how today's game's played.
Mm-hmm.
And the reliever right now is more important than ever.
Especially if they're going in pitching getting a 2 inning save,
Yeah, there's that.
which is
So,
difficult for a guy that generally only pitches 3 outs.
yep. And they have to be in the right situation at the right time.
Yep.
Anyways, though, if you guys do have any other thoughts, make sure to add us on Twitter at SROnlyPod. We could discuss over there. Move over to some basketball talk. The Bulls,
Ooh.
they did get some guys back, but we are going to talk about the weekend in which we lost Alex Caruso again.
Just came back
to an injury. He just came back after missing like a month. He went into COVID protocols, right? And then came back from COVID, got hurt. And
He was
just
also he was hurt too. So I mean, it was like double whammy, and then huge foul by Grayson Allen in that game. It was a close game actually. The Bulls, DeMar had a really good game. The Bulls were keeping up. And yeah, Caruso's out again, broken wrist, I believe.
Yep, broken wrist from the foul of Grayson Allen.
Now, Grayson Allen has had a history of very shady shit, to say the least. I mean, there's been times where I think he's stepped on guys.
Even in college.
In college, that's where it started at Duke, where you're talking about
Tripping people.
arguably the best player in college at that time under Mike Krzyzewski. And I mean, he was still good, but it's so hard to turn an eye to blatant shit. Like, you're tripping people, you're stepping on people. These fouls are like, I don't even know if he's grabbed somebody's wrist or anything like that. I'm trying to think of all the stuff he's done. I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm trying to look past his previous woes because it was a bang bang play in a close game, and it was going to be a bucket. Alex Caruso was going to yam it down, I believe, or even if he lays it up. And you don't want an easy bucket. You don't want to give up an easy bucket. You don't want to give up that momentum. Was it a hard foul? Yes. I watched it in slow motion. It's not as bad in slow motion. I see where people are arguing that he's going for the ball twice. It's just one of those, if you're going to attack the player at the rim, understand that he's flying. This is a guard. You guys are guards. You guys are the fastest guys on the court. 200 pounds apiece, probably. Flying at the 10, and you're going to just basically lay your body out. Granted, you used your hands. I understand that. But the way he used his body to kind of just do everything he could to stop the bucket, resulting in Caruso getting hurt, resulting in Grayson Allen getting suspended, which I agree with. It's yes, he may have won for the ball, but it's just unnecessary. It's like unnecessary roughness. It's like a helmet to helmet hit. It's just, what are you doing? Like, just give up the bucket.
And with that foul, here's what went wrong with that foul. A lot of people are defending Grayson Allen, saying it's just a hard foul. Like, come on, stop being so soft and whatnot. The reason why it is infuriating to watch that back and why it was bad, the first hit was cool. Like, yeah, he tried going for the ball. He made contact. After that first hit, I don't think Caruso would have been able to make that bucket.
There's no way.
What makes that play bad is the second hand coming in and pretty much moving Caruso out of the air into a position in which he lands on his wrist.
Exactly. It went from going for the ball and still again on the second attempt, okay, your hand's near the ball, but that was not his intention. His intention was to alter Caruso to not give up the bucket. And again, maybe we are overreacting, maybe as Bulls fans, but I keep watching it. I'm probably one of the most unbiased players, more unbiased fans of a team, minus Green Bay for the first hour after they lost. After that, I got over it and realized that they have a lot to work on. But I try my best to take my fan cap off, and I try to give Grayson Allen the benefit of the doubt. And I felt like, yes, it was a good hard foul at first that turned into doing way too much in the air, and we saw a result of him being a goofball in the air to save a bucket. Now somebody's out for quite a while. But at the same time, if I'm Milwaukee, okay, slap on the wrist. Grayson, you took out the heart of that team. They're ready without Lonzo. Granted, we got a couple guys back. Zach LaVine's back, look good. Javonte Green's back, he'll be good. But you're taking out two key guards. Luckily, Io's there, and he's dominating. I love Io. But for Milwaukee, they're like, Caruso's out. He's in our division. He's in our conference.
Oh, man. What made it worse is the next day. Did you see what the social media team did from the Bucks?
That was yeah.
So for anyone wondering what happened, the next day the Bucks posted good morning, and then it was like a little video clip of Grayson Allen eating a donut and then said like game tonight. And then had text over him and whatnot. Game tonight against, I don't know who they played. People were like, oh, you're getting mad over that? Oh, it's a scheduled tweet. There's no way that was a scheduled tweet.
A scheduled tweet? They got a social media guy that tweets whatever he wants. There's no way. They have a PR social media guy. They get together. I'm going to tweet this. Okay, probably has to get approval, but they knew what they were doing. At the same time, it was in reference to the game. It was game time, right? But you have him eating his donut. That's like Kermit drinking his damn coffee. That's like the equivalent to that. It's all right. Grayson's got another thing coming.
March 6th or whatever.
Are they in Chicago?
Yes, they're in Chicago next time they play.
Ooh. I got a lot of words I want to get out. It might be on Grayson. Maybe not.
So yeah, the hit was dirty because of the second hand coming in and pushing Alex Caruso out of like what he was doing and putting him into a position where he landed how he did and broke his wrist. That's what made it bad.
You want your guy to be able to deliver a hard foul. You don't want to give up the bucket. It went from being a hard foul to above and beyond. And obviously, because he got the flagrant, he got suspended. It was reviewed multiple times, I'm sure, by the NBA. They're like, dude, we see what you were trying to do, but let's face it. You did too much. You did too much, and that's it at the end of the day. You know what's funny is Bucks fans on social media, whom I love. I love the Bucks. I love their fan base. But their fans are ruthless on social media. I just want to give you guys a shout out. You guys won't even admit it was a dirty hit. You guys revert to something else on social media from when Andrew Bogut broke his arm. Let's not compare the two. Let's just admit it was dirty and just move on.
Yeah, it's okay to admit that it was dirty. It's perfectly fine. It's already happened, but
It's happened. It's over.
The fact that some people are denying it's crazy. I don't know what
No,
you're
but
saying.
here's the thing,
I want
though.
to
If it
see
happened-
what they are seeing.
If it happened to Giannis, I guarantee you they would riot.
Yeah.
They would literally do the same exact thing. They would be like, it was a dirty hit. You broke his career will never be the same. They'll start crying. They'll be passing each other tissue. And guess what? We're just going to be like, oh, but you just said 2 months ago that wasn't a dirty hit for Caruso. Like, it's unnecessary. It could have been Caruso. It could have been, their biggest riot. It could have been in the playoffs, game 7. They needed to stop the bucket. They could have been going against whoever. And I would be like, if Caruso fouled the guy, I'd be like, Caruso, you're a dick. Like, you shouldn't have done that. There's just hard foul, let him shoot the free throws. Now that we got that off our chest, Zach LaVine's back. Javonte Green's back. Trade deadline's right around the corner. So we don't have a whole lot yet. There's so many rumors. Jeremy Grant's being rumored to get shipped off to Chicago, which
the Lakers
as well. Both teams I think the Lakers need to make a huge move. They need a move. Granted, Anthony Davis is back tonight. Shout out to AD. He's on a little bit of a minutes restriction, but man, that Lakers team is tough to watch. I just don't understand how, as a management, you allow all your eggs into one basket, aka a big three that each are all getting paid like $40 million, and then you have nobody around them. The Lakers are not, unless Anthony Davis come back fully healthy, because LeBron's playing out of his mind also, and Russ could just do Russ things here and there. I think they could compete in the playoffs, but that team is tough around them. They are not that great. They're gonna have to unload like THT. They're gonna have to unload some of the other guys around them. Maybe Malik Monk. He's been putting up some good numbers. They might be able to get something. They might be able to get something at this trade deadline.
Io stepping up lately, though, has been huge.
Gotta love it.
Another game with a career high against the Thunder. He's shooting efficiently.
Yes.
You love to see.
They were comparing his mid-range game to DeMar. And he started the game 9 for 9, I believe, which is a new rookie Bulls record. Most field goals made consecutively to start a game. Shout out to Io. I think Io, it's weird. We're almost like spoiled. I thought we were overloaded with a bunch of guards that we didn't really need. But with the injuries and COVID and all this other stuff happening, it's like the fact that we're blessed with seeing these guys get an opportunity. Because even Kobe White, who had a mediocre game last week or in his last game, has had huge games. Io DeSomu's had huge games. Lavine obviously is Lavine. Lavine's not going anywhere, but I do unfortunately think that the Bulls are going to make a move. They're going to make a trade. I think they're going to trade Pat Williams. I'm okay with that because realistically, we haven't seen much from him. Could he end up being one of the best players in the NBA? I think he's got potential. But for a team that's kind of right there right now to compete with the talent that's around them, because obviously Vooch,
he is so bad, dude.
It's like he's nervous. You notice like in the games where he's confidently shooting, he's doing this and that. I know we talked about in the beginning of the year, first few games, was like, man, he's got to knock the rust off. We go to the game against Charlotte, awesome game. He puts up 30 plus. He's drilling threes. He had like 5-6 assists. That's the Vooch that did it in Orlando. That's the Vooch that did it with Chicago last year when he got traded. He is not performing at the all-star caliber Vooch that we're used to. Once he gets it going, though, and we do end up making a splash and trade deadline, because I'm like 90% sure we will, I do think the Bulls will still be the deadliest team in the East behind the Bucks, the Nets, and I actually really like Miami as well. Miami's tough. Miami's a very tough team. They have they have some shooters on that team that shoot lights out. And there's like games where Jimmy Butler might put up 8 points, but they still end up in a blowout win because he does everything else.
Defensively, they're so good.
They are a very scary team. Bam Adebayo's finally back. And I know Lowry's missed a couple games, but their other guards are stepping up. Duncan Robinson, the last couple games, been shooting lights out. Jimmy Neutron doesn't miss. I like Miami. I like the Bucks, I like the Nets, and I like the Bulls. That's my top 4 right there.
Dude, the Bulls won. Oh, this is Orlando. So, yeah, Vooch against Orlando was terrible. Shot 4 of 19. He was 2 of 8 from 3, which meant he was 2 of 11 inside the 3-point line. Against the Thunder, he had a decent game.
He's great when he gets low, like deep into the paint. He's unbelievable. But when you're playing against guys, other bigs like Wendell Carter, even Robin Lopez on Orlando can sometimes play okay defensively. He's not the best, but he struggles a little bit against some of these other bigs. And maybe it's a lack of us having bigs is making it tough. But I think we need to get back to Vooch. We just need him to be efficient. That's the problem. Wasted possessions is not good. It's not good when you go up against teams that either have a good defense or they have a very, very, very efficient offense. And I mean, we've seen it, but again, without Lonzo, without some of the other guys, it's he's being exposed.
And when you're that bad on defense, can't be that bad on offense. He's shooting a career low field goal percentage, 43.4% as a center.
As a center, that's bad. Granted, he shoots a lot. His 3-point percentage is I highly doubt it's anywhere near
33.
33, okay. So that's good for a center.
He's attempting 5 per game. But 33 compared to 40, 38, 40, 33, 36, 31. But like the past few seasons, he kicked it up a bit. His rebound totals have been consistent. He's just going to get boards just because he's mainly standing in the paint. Being on offense, especially, there's so many shots he gets. I don't get how you can shoot that low of a percentage, especially when you specialize on that little stupid hook that he puts up every time close to the basket.
Every time. And normally he's good. There. Granted, he did lead the team in scoring yesterday, but Lavine just came back. He still put up 23. Io put up 24 and 10 of 14. The team... The core right now with injuries, it looks tough. They got away with a victory that they were winning by quite a bit. Ended up winning by 1 against the Thunder. But
the biggest lead was 28 by the Bulls.
Yeah, and they gave it up. I mean, granted, Thunder, they're a weird team. SGA, Shai Gilgeous is pretty damn good. Josh Giddey's proven to be pretty good. Super young talent right there. And there are a few pieces away from being a playoff team again as well. Obviously, they lost Chris Paul 2 seasons ago to the Suns. But even then, you can't give up 28-point leads. They'll have DeMar DeRozan back. He did have the night off for rest. He's not hurt. So luckily, they'll have their big 3, if you will, as long as Vooch performs. And then eventually, Lonzo, who is out, I believe, 6 to 8 weeks. He's getting arthroscopic surgery on his shoulder. Was it his shoulder or his knee? I can't remember. He's getting arthroscopic surgery, so he is out almost 2 months, which will be fine. He'll be back just in time to get going right before the playoffs.
I'm looking right now at last night's game. The Bulls were up 105-88, so 17 points with 5:50 to go.
In the fourth quarter.
Yep.
That's nuts. Granted, OKC does have Mike Muscala, who is one of the best 3-point shooters in the game this year. I think he's like top 5. But Thunder's weird. Thunder's a weird team. They have really good games. They have really bad games. They have Dortz, whose defense is pretty damn good. But we're not going to create excuses for Chicago. We expect way better than that.
And
like I said, DeRozan will be back.
Luckily, with everything happening at the moment, the Bulls are only a half game back of first place. I would have
Yeah.
thought for sure they would fall back to maybe 4 or 5. The standings are so close right now that they could have easily done that. But they did squeak out a couple games. They've
It's going to be
kind of
tough
held their
moving
spot at the
forward.
top.
Yeah,
Yes. It'll be
once DeRozan's
tough.
back, they'll be okay, but I still think Miami has very big momentum right now. Milwaukee's fully healthy for the most part. Giannis is playing good. Drew Holiday, they got back recently. Chris Middleton, obviously, is Chris Middleton. We know what you're going to get from him. And Bobby Portis is actually doing pretty good. I like Milwaukee. I do like Milwaukee. But, of course, with that being said, we got another playoffs are a little bit later this year. So we got another couple of months, 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. I guarantee you we're going to see some sort of Woj bombs or shams. We're going to see something and we're going to be like, all right, this team's ready to go. Whether if it's the Bulls, the Lakers, there's other teams out there. Maybe Ben Simmons gets traded. Highly doubt it. Doesn't seem like they want to trade him until the offseason now. So be on the lookout for that. You know we're going to be tweeting the first second we see something. So make sure you guys follow us on the SR Only Pod Twitter account because we're going to report it as soon as we see it. Yeah. Joel Embiid put up another 40 points tonight. Got him in my parlay. Just need DeJounte Murray to complete this triple-double.
Yeah, he's
2066.
having a fantastic season. Also, Jokic tonight was 2 points and one assist away from becoming the only player since the merger to have 2 30-20-10 games in their career.
That would be nuts. He could have. They took him out for a little bit when they had a bigger lead, and they finally brought him back in because Detroit is weird like that. They like to fight. Cade Cunningham, awesome game, 30+. And Jokic, I'm torn. Jokic or Embiid. Whoever ends the season, whichever team finishes stronger, I feel like is going to be the MVP. Right now, Jokic is out of his mind, but so is Embiid. Multiple 40-point games recently. Double-double tonight. Huge victory for them over the Pelicans, which the Pelicans are another weird team in the West that likes to fight. They did play without Josh Hart and Brandon Ingram tonight, but even then, that's still tough. I want to see these two guys battle it out. I don't even know if they play each other, but down the stretch, you're going to see these guys going off even more because the Sixers are right there in the playoff hunt, and so are the Nuggets. So
they definitely have 2 matchups. I don't know if they've matched up already, but I definitely want to see the game if they're on like a hot stretch.
Absolutely.
I think it's time to move over to football.
Yes.
The best weekend in football history.
Hands down.
Started off on Saturday with the Bengals beating the Titans. So my prediction of the Bengals making the championship is alive. Well, it happened. It did happen. They won by a field goal, 19-16. On Twitter as well, I believe you timed up all the polls to game start time.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
So 55% voted for the Bengals to win that game.
That they were right. Quite a while.
It's just crazy with the Bengals making it this far. Both you and I, in our preseason predictions, picked them to be 4th in that division and not even make the playoffs. And all the other teams to make the playoffs.
It's like flip a coin, though. That's got to be the toughest division. The AFC North is super tough because, the divisional games are tough. You got to see everybody twice. Shout out to Joe Burrow and that awesome offense and the defense that's been stepping it up as well. They beat up on the Titans. Derrick Henry was back. Ran the ball okay for a guy in his first game back in months. Did okay. 55% of you guys on 107 votes did say the Bengals. Good game, fun game. Unfortunately, actually, I don't want to say unfortunately because they've been winning on the road. They won on the road against in Vegas. They won on the road in Tennessee. They're going to be on the road again against the Kansas City Chiefs. Saturday, though, the other game, which the Bengals game ended in a field goal, 52-yarder. He knew it. That leads to the Packers and 49ers game, the most disappointing game I've ever watched in my life. Green Bay blows another game in the playoffs. The only other game, they blow quite a plenty of games. All right, they've been blown out in some playoff games. Aaron Rodgers is officially 0-4 against the 49ers in his career in the playoffs. It was a blizzard. The second half was nuts. Nobody's moving the ball. Fourth quarter, Deebo Samuel kicks it up a notch. He's limping around, still making plays. Get a blocked punt late in the game. Turns into a touchdown off the block punt. Ties it up. I'm out walking the dogs. I'm thinking, wow, Packers are going to punt. They're going to stop the 49ers. I get to celebrate. I come back. It's 10-10. Block punt.
After the 49ers earlier in the game blocked a field goal.
Which the guy that blocked it is normally the guy that is supposed to get blocked. They literally let him in. I don't know what happened there. I watched this TikTok video on this guy's theory that it's all about gambling. Now that gambling's like legal in more states, that it's more controlled. I don't know about that. I don't want to believe it. But the way he gave up that position to the player, that's the one gunner at the end that you're supposed to block. Anybody that comes off the edge, you kind of let him come in because he's got to take a longer route. Field goal gets blocked. A touchdown on the block punt. That's 10 points. That's a 10-point swing. 49ers come down, kick a game-winning field goal. Good as gold. Robbie Gold himself. And of course, I believe he was mic'd up, or maybe
I think Jimmy G said F Green Bay.
He said F the Packers. Robbie Gold said, hell yeah. You know what? I felt that. I watched that the next day, and I was like, you know what? These guys fought. As a Packer fan, I was upset. Like, this is the best defense that they've had in a while. They were shutting down the Niners all game. They scored on the opening drive. The chances of them winning was so high. You score on the opening drive, and Jimmy G throws an interception. You're getting key stops. Nobody's moving the ball. That should be an easy victory. Well, so should have been the 2015 or 2016 season against Seattle when they ended up giving up the onside kick and all this and that, and they ended up winning.
Yep, special teams has always been great for Green Bay in the playoffs.
Going into the season, there was a lot of talk of their special teams. They were ranked last in special teams in the statistical category of whatever is tracked. And it proved to be the difference maker. Special teams matter. They matter. Your field goal kicker, your blockers, all of that.
Did you see how many people were on the field on the final field goal as well?
There was 10.
10, you know 10 players on the field for the final play of the game.
I was wondering about that picture because it's a picture. Was there a guy back to receive in case the kick was short? Because you can't see underneath the field goal. Like, you can only see the top half.
I don't know why they would do that.
It's happened. You would think you would gun everybody at Robbie. I mean, Robbie Gold's golden. I don't think it would matter. I don't think it was going to matter.
No.
You're talking about a guy that literally practices in front of a team, in front of cheerleaders, doing their thing. He's cold-blooded. He's always been cold-blooded. This is a Hall of Fame kicker right there. And now they are also going to be on the road as well. So you have two wildcard teams, or actually, technically the Bengals won their division, but you have a wildcard team, number 6 seed, and the 49ers. That was Saturday. Sunday.
Yeah,
crazy.
70% of people voted for the Packers in that game, which was the right vote.
It was the right vote.
49ers somehow pull off another miracle game. They've had a fantastic run so far.
Shout out to the 49ers.
Sunday, though, we almost saw the greatest game of all time, similar to Super Bowl with the Patriots and Falcons. Los Angeles Rams against Tampa Bay. The vote on Twitter was 50.6% Rams, 49.4 Bucks. It was that close in voting.
And that's how close the game was. Why? Because the Buccaneers, Tom Brady, the game should have been a blowout. It was a blowout. Third quarter, it was like 27-3.
It was 27-3, which, as we all know, the Falcons blew a 28-3 lead.
Tom Brady, it obviously is the GOAT. Like, he's the GOAT. The fact that he brought the team back, the defense had a little momentum there, had a couple of key turnovers, tied the game with seconds. With, like, I don't even know the exact amount of time. It wasn't 13 seconds like Mahomes had, but one huge play down the field to, I believe, Cooper Kupp. sets up the game-winning field goal for the Rams. Rams are going to the conference game. Awesome game. Awesome to see OBJ in that spotlight. Awesome to see Matt Stafford in that spotlight. All the other guys, too. Von Miller's going to be back in that spotlight. I love the Rams. I think the Rams being in this game is huge. I think it's a big deal for the NFL. Of course, we like to see Tom Brady do his thing and dominate. I'm over it. And then the next game was even better. A shootout. Buffalo Bills, Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas. Buffalo starts off hot. Chiefs start off hot. The whole game, both guys are hot. Both guys are dominating each other, the other defense. It gets down to the point where the Bills are up 3 points, I believe.
There was 4 scores in the final 2 minutes. 4 score and 2 minutes remain. Thinking of the Gettysburg Address.
Yeah.
4 scores and 2 minutes to go. The Bills and Chiefs put on a show. So there was a couple touchdowns, couple field goals, 13 seconds to go. Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce connect on a huge play to set up the field goal. And before that, Travis Kelce told Mahomes, I'm probably not going to run the route you're telling me to run. And he was like, all right, do it.
He told him, he's like, if they set up the same way, instead of me running this route, you're going to catch me over the middle. I'm going to run between both guys. I'm going to be wide open. And he did. Travis Kelce, you got to remember, is very, very athletic tight end. He's got speed. He's got the hands. It's kind of like a Gronk, but a little bit different, obviously. And yeah, he told him, he's like, they're going to call a play, and I'm not going to run that route. So I'm curious to know. I wish somebody was mic'd up on the sideline where they're like, what is he doing? And then they're like, oh, 13 seconds, they get down the field, get enough position. They send the game into OT, which there's obviously a lot of people were upset about the OT rules.
Yeah, we will talk about that after this.
Long story short, Chiefs win it on a touchdown. Travis Kelce. Bills don't have a chance. I could watch that game if I can pay to watch these guys play 4 times this season instead of once. I would do so. I would love for these guys to even twice to play in the same division.
Mm-hmm.
That's how exciting they are.
60% of people picked the Bills to win that game as well.
Which did not happen.
Overtime rules. There needs to be a change in the NFL overtime rules. Not 10 years ago or so, they changed it to where if teams kick a field goal, then the other team can kick a has a chance to then either score a touchdown or kick a field goal as well. I think it needs to change, not going into a college overtime rule. People are like, oh, don't make it college. No, here's what you do. Doesn't matter the results. Each team gets 1 possession minimum. So if a team scores a touchdown, the other team has to go down the field and score a touchdown or they lose the game. Because a sudden death rule like that, where a coin flip pretty much determines who wins, is terrible. In the playoffs, teams are 9-1 in overtime for winning the coin toss. And 7 of them have ended in touchdowns first drive. The one loss was the controversial Saints-Rams game, in which the pass interference happened and it was never called. So the Saints probably would have won that game. It would have been 10-0. Statistically, since that sample was taken, I think it was since like the field goal rule was implemented, there's a 53% chance of winning. But we aren't talking regular season games. We're talking playoff games in which both teams are just good in general, and they are going to manage games to win in overtime. 9-1, it could be skewed a little bit. There might not be enough games, but you can't just allow a coin to pretty much determine the winner of the game.
It should just be who gets the ball first. That's all it should be. Everybody gets 1 possession. As soon as both possessions are over, if one team has higher points, that team wins. Or if they both tie, then the next score wins.
Yes. Then it could
Then
go into
next
sudden
score.
death.
Yes. And a field goal will count.
Yeah.
You'd have to keep, because otherwise, I mean, the game can keep going. I would have enjoyed watching triple, quadruple overtime for Chiefs Bills. But yeah, the overtime rules, especially in the playoffs, I understand the games don't end in a tie. They can't. You need a winner. But it was kind of obvious with the way the offenses were both moving that whoever got the ball was going to win. I mean, if the Bills scored or Bills won the toss, I would assume they're going to win. They were moving the football like it was nothing as well. Josh Allen had an incredible game just like Mahomes. Is it fair for a toss to determine that Josh Allen's going to sit his ass on the bench the rest of the night and then lose? No, I don't think it's fair. Unfortunately, it's the rules, and the Chiefs did win. But they should definitely change that. And they can change it in this offseason if they wanted to.
Definitely should. It's not going to hurt overtime at all either. It's still remaining similar rules, but you're just keeping it fair.
One extra possession, that's it.
Yeah. This week, we have Rams 49ers. I think the 49ers have had the Rams number a little bit this season. In LA, it's going to be a tough game to watch. Should be a battle of the defenses. And then you have, expect another shootout with Chiefs Bengals.
Yes, the Bengals beat the Chiefs by 3 in their regular season game. And it was a shootout. Burrow almost put up like 500 yards-ish. Mahomes had a pretty good, damn good game. I'm expecting a shootout. I'm definitely expecting a shootout. In this game, the over-under's 54. Kansas City with a -7 spread. I feel like Kansas City is going to cover the spread as well as they are going to go over 54. It's going to end up being, to me, I don't see how this game won't be a 31-27 game, or actually 31-27 wouldn't cover 7. So 34-27. Let's go with that. 34-27 Kansas City.
Yeah, I still think Kansas City will come out on top. My after regular season prediction busted. My preseason prediction still intact though.
Hey, it's all that matters.
Hate that I went against myself in the playoffs, but
sometimes you lose a bet, but you can bet more. Remember that. Yeah. You can always bet more.
So my preseason Rams Chiefs still intact.
Yep. So Rams and Chiefs actually is like my dream Super Bowl. So hopefully, I'm hoping that's what ends up happening. But I mean, the Bengals too can compete. I think they can definitely compete with the NFC. But that's going to be the 2:00 game on Sunday Central Time, of course. And then the following week, or the following game, is going to be the San Francisco and the Rams. That's 5:30. That's immediately after the other game. Rams at home with a 3.5-point spread, favorited. 46.5 over under, which I think is a very fair spread considering both defenses could actually be very good against the opposing offense. With this one, of course, I do think that it is going to be under the 46.5, but the Rams will also cover the 3.5-point spread.
Yeah, I see it being another close. Cooper Cup, unreal.
Oh, man.
We'll see what the 49ers can do with that.
It's not about stopping. I don't think it's about stopping him. I think it's about not giving up the big plays. The Bucs gave up big plays. Just like the year before, the Bucs got the big plays against Green Bay in the playoffs. And you don't necessarily have to assume you're going to stop the guy. You can probably give up 100 yards and still win the game. I mean, at the end of the day. It's all going to be big plays. Fourth quarter, watch out for those damn 49ers, let me tell you. And the 49ers played very well against the Rams in the regular season. That's their division rival. They know how they play. They're playing in the good weather. 49ers, Bosa, the rest of the I mean, I don't think Jimmy G is going to be a difference maker, but if he can manage the offense a little bit, time management's going to be key. Incorporating Deebo Samuel, running the ball. 49ers could definitely win. They can win the football game. They could. I just don't see it happening.
It'd be crazy to see 49ers Chiefs again. We saw it a couple years ago.
I don't want to see that again. That was it was one of the worst. It should have been the Rams against the Chiefs, just like the regular season that year. They both combined for over 100 points. It was like 51-50 or something.
Mhm.
That's what I want for the Super Bowl. I want it to be Action Jackson. I want to drink every time somebody scores a touchdown. That's what I'm talking about. Maybe not. That's a lot. I don't drink. Maybe I do. Here's the thing. Regardless of what happens, if it ends up being a 49ers Bengals Super Bowl, that is unreal. But this is the first time in 11 seasons or something where the NFC and AFC conference games don't include Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. So this is it, ladies and gentlemen. You have the future. You have Joe Burrow. You have Josh Allen. You have Mahomes. That's it. I'm not gonna say Jimmy G. He's not a stud. I mean, he's studly looking, I'm sure, but he's not a stud on the field like the other guys. And it could have easily had been, obviously Tom Brady and whatchamacallit, but it's not the case. We got the new school quarterbacks. This is the future, guys. I mean, Pat Mahomes, I wouldn't say is a Hall of Famer at this point, not yet. I mean, his contract says it. Give him about 6 more seasons, he'll be a Hall of Famer for sure.
He's made the AFC Championship 4 years in a row.
And the first year,
the Super Bowl, 2 of them in a row.
Yeah, the first year against the Patriots, he should have. I think there was a really bad interception that got called back. Yeah. Wasn't it on Justin Houston?
It was on Chris Jones.
Oh, yeah. Offsides on the interception, which was a very close call. Patriots ended up winning that game, which ended up being a horrible Super Bowl, but whatever. Wasn't that the Super Bowl when the Patriots went up against the Rams and the Rams didn't score?
I
believe that was.
I believe it was 10-3 as well. So
it was 10-3. It was a horrible game.
Yeah, it was New England Rams after we saw Philadelphia, New England the year before, and then New England Atlanta the year before that.
Yep. Oh, tough. Very tough. But as always, we're going to put the poll out. We'll probably put it out. I'll put it out Saturday night. Give it 24 hours, maybe midday Saturday. And we'll have the polls end just minutes before game time. Of course, we're curious to know. We had a bunch of voters, so shout out to you guys that did vote. We're going to put it out again, put it out a little bit earlier this time. And so make sure you're following us on Twitter, SRO Pod, SRO Only Pod.
Yep. I feel like I'm watching a Billy Mays infomercial. We've talked about a lot already, but wait, there's more.
There's more.
We do have some other football talk to finish off this episode. First off, Sean Payton not returning next year. Huge.
Yeah. Did I read he's actually retiring?
He is stepping away as of now. So
I read somewhere that that he should do TV for a year to kind of let it refresh his batteries, if you will.
Because they're going to be bad next year. Well, they could be bad. They had a pretty good season this year. They almost made the playoffs with that roster that they had and their QB stuff. But he is stepping away.
Gone,
dude, I would have wanted Rodgers to go to the Saints. With how bad their cap is, we always know they manage it well. They can make cuts. Taysom Hill's cap doesn't actually count. It would have been nice to see Rodgers versus Brady a couple times a year and having Rodgers play in a dome. That would have been great. But Sean Payton stepping away, and he said he's not coaching next year. The question is, if he comes back, will he be with the Saints? He decides to come back after a season and finds a great opportunity with another team. The Saints have his rights for 3 seasons, which means if he comes back, doesn't want to coach the Saints, they're going to get something for him. They'll probably get a pick or 2 for him.
Yeah. Can you imagine that?
Huge for them. Yeah.
Wherever he goes, I mean, I don't want to call him an automatic contender, but for what they did without a quarterback all season, I mean,
would he be first round pick material?
Maybe.
I think it depends on the team. I think if you're a good team and you have a pretty decent pick, like a 20 to 32 range, okay, maybe, but not. I don't know if it's like a top 10
Not
pick.
top. No. Actually, probably not even a number one. Not a first round pick. You'd have to be like a 2, maybe like a 3 and a 4. You don't want to give
At
not
least
for
a couple picks.
yeah, not for a coach, especially guys out there like the Bears are finally. It seems like making an agreement with a new GM or no,
They
it'd be
did.
president. Polls,
New
right?
GM. Yep. Ryan Poles, which his age is 36.
Wow.
Crazy. Young guy.
I was gonna say he looks young.
How many years do you think he was with the Chiefs front office?
Since they've been good, 4 years.
He's been there for 13 years.
Since he was almost able
23.
to drink.
Yeah, 23-year-old being with that team for 13 seasons. 36. Like I'm actually a little hyped for that. I heard his age. I'm like, "Oh no. Is this going to be like an experiment type of person?" But no. The Chiefs have built a great team and he's been through it all with them.
Is he the Theo Epstein of baseball, of football?
Yeah, is he about to be the Theo Epstein?
He might be. That'd be cool. It'd be cool for the Bears to be good. I mean, can't always be Green Bay at the top.
And I did hear on Twitter as well, Dan Quinn might be hired by the Bears. They are interviewing a couple coaches. The Colts defensive coordinator might have been Quinn, and then another coordinator, offensive coordinator.
Really?
Yes.
Dan Quinn.
He was the Falcons coach.
For a couple of years, yeah.
Especially during their Super Bowl year.
Cowboys defensive coordinator.
I wouldn't mind that.
He's okay.
Dan Quinn's okay. Brian Flores is like the main guy. But as long as the Bears get a decent coach, I'm more excited about the GM. Building a team is great. Like building a team is more important than the coach running it all. Dan Caldwell, I don't want. I'm sorry. I don't want him.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. We got. I mean, this is a matter of weeks as well. A couple of weeks, because eventually start. Off season's pretty quick, and then the draft's right around the corner, usually in April. So we'll see. But that's gonna wrap up this episode. Make sure you guys tune in. Make sure you guys following us. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple, Twitter, Instagram. Shoot us a follow. Check out the polls that we're gonna put out on Saturday, and we will see you guys next week.